Let's take a look at what I think is one of the best uses of Pages, and that is to make an interactive workbook. So we're going to dive right in. Of course, we're going to open up Pages. I'm going to go to New Document, and I'm going to be using the blank layout template for this. So I'm going to double click that. Okay, now like I said before, you've got an entirely blank layout here. To make an interactive workbook, I want to change this template, and I'm going to provide that template to the kids. So the first thing I've got to do is go over here to Edit Page Template. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. So the first thing we're going to do, let's say we're making one about food chains and food webs. So I've found a video here that I like, food chain, food web for kids. I'm going to copy and paste this URL in here. I'm going to go to Media, and this is a web video, so I'm going to add the link. And I'm going to insert that video right here. Okay, now I'm going to put some instructions up here for kids, so I'm going to add a text box. And I'm going to stretch it out there. Let's make this say, okay, watch the video and write down what you think are the 3 most important facts. Now I'm going to make that a little bit bigger, easier to read. Let's center it, and let's center it inside that text box. Okay, now this wording might be kind of clunky, so I'm going to use some writing tools. Let's make that more concise. Watch the video and write down the 3 most important facts. Perfect, let's replace it with that. Okay, now what I'd like to have is an area down here where they can just write their facts using a Logitech crayon, or if they want to type in it, they can too. So I'm going to put in some lines, and these will be the lines that they can write on if they're using their Logitech crayons. So I'm going to put 3 of them here. Now I could copy and paste that line, but I'm going to use a little shortcut. I'm going to hold the Option key while I click and drag this line, and that will instantly duplicate it. So now I've got 3 lines there. Now I'd like to have these numbered 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to add a text box. Shrink our text box down, put it where we want it. I'm going to put 1 right there. Now let's make that font a little bit bigger. That looks a little bit better. And again, I'm going to use the Option key. I'm just going to click and drag that to make copies of it. And now I'll just go in here and change that to 2 and 3. Okay, here we go. So now they've got a space where they can write their important facts. Now, I really don't want them messing with any of this stuff, so I'm going to make sure all of this is locked down. So I'm just going to highlight it all and click Lock. If a kid does want to type in here as opposed to writing with their Logitech crayons, I could put a text box in here, and I'll just put it right where I want them to type, like that. And I can, again, use that Option key to duplicate that. Now I'm not going to lock those boxes, because that's where a student can type to enter their text. They can just tap in there, and then they can start typing. If I wanted them to use the crayons, I'd just leave that blank. So we'll leave it right there for now. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to name this Page 1 Video. Next, let's say I wanted to have a different page where they create their own little simple example of a food chain. So I'm going to go in here, click New Page, and let's call it Simple Example. Okay, now what you're going to notice is it's just duplicated this page. That's okay. I'm going to go in here, unlock everything, and just delete it. So now I've got a new blank page. Okay, so for this simple example, I'm thinking we have some images that they can move around and some arrows that connect them so they can show the flow of energy. So what I'm going to do, I've got my internet pulled up here in the back, and let's search for grass. I want to start with an image of grass. I'm going to resize my screen. You know what? I think I like this one right here. I'm just going to drag it right over there. Okay, now I can resize that in here. Let's make it about like that. Let's go back. Now let's find a picture of a caterpillar. Okay, I think I want one that's eating grass. Let's do this one right here. It looks like it's very obvious that it's eating a plant. Go over here, we'll resize that. And now let's get a bird. And oh, this one looks like he's hungry. We'll put that in here. Okay. So now I've got my 3 images. You know what? I'm going to mix them up just a little bit so it's not so obvious, because I want kids making it. Okay. Okay, so now I'd like to add some arrows in here So I'm going to go to shape, and I'm going to select this arrow. And I'd like that to be a little bit thicker, I think. So under my formatting options, by stroke here, I've got some different options. Let's make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Now I think we're going to need 2 of these arrows, so I'm going to use that option. There we go. So now I've got my 3 images. Students can drag them around and put the arrows in there. So let's put a text box for some instructions. There we go. So again, this is something real simple. If I were doing this for a class, I'd probably add a little bit more fun color stuff to it so it's not just so boring, but that works. And now I don't want kids to be able to drag this text box around, so I'm going to lock that. Now they can drag all this other stuff. Okay, so there's my simple example. Next, maybe I want them to have a fill in the blank type activity, something a little bit more involved than this basic example. So I'm gonna go over here, click new page, and let's call it fill in the blank example. Okay, and again, it's duplicated that page, so I'm gonna just highlight everything, make sure it's unlocked so I can delete it, press delete. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to Google, and let's say I want to find some kind of pre-made activity. So I'm going to do a fill-in-the-blank food chain worksheet PDF. And I see right here, food chain worksheets, free printables. Sounds perfect. Okay, so I'm going to look through these. And you know what? I kind of like this one right here. I'm going to download this PDF. I'm going to select this to open it up in preview. Okay. And now I can just drag this image from preview right in here. This one is the answer key. I don't want that one. I just want this image here. Okay, here we go. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And you know, now that I'm looking at this, I'm seeing what this is. It looks like this is a printable thing where students would cut these out and then glue them on here. So I still want to do this, but I want to make it a digital version of it. So a real easy way to do that, I'm just going to double click on this, and now I can crop it. I'm going to crop these pieces out right here. This is what students would cut out. So I'm going to actually just drag this up like that. Select done. So now I've only got that top image. I'm going to go back to preview. And what I'm going to do is take a screenshot of these. I'm going to do Command Shift 4. And that lets me be able to select what I want to take a screenshot of. I'm going to take a screenshot of all those. And that's going to be saved on my desktop. Here's my screenshot. I'm going to drag that in here. Oh, perfect. It's even about the right size. Okay. I might shrink that down just a little bit. Make sure it would work. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now, I want to get an individual image of each little thing here. I'm not going to take 5 different screenshots. Instead, what I'm going to do is hold my Option key, and let's duplicate this. So I'm going to get 5 of them. And while I've got it right here, I'm going to double click and let's crop it down. So for this one, I just want the little leopard seal. Done. Okay, so now let's get that killer whale. So I'm going to double click and let's crop that. I just want that whale. Done. Okay, so now I've got my leopard, seal, my whale. Let's get our seagull. Again, double click. Resize it here. Let's get our grasshopper. And then finally we're going to get our bird. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now let's line all these up down here. Now these are going to be all movable pieces. And students can click and drag these where they go. All I have to do is just lock this one because I don't want students moving that one around. I just want them to move these around. Okay. So now I've got 3 pages in my interactive workbook all about food chains. They got the video, they write 3 important facts, they make a little simple example, and we've got to fill in the blank example from a worksheet that I found. Now I don't have to print anything off, I don't have kids cutting stuff, I don't have kids spreading glue on their hands and peeling it off. It's very easy. Now, if I wanted to showcase their work, here's the nice thing about Pages. Once they complete any assignment, I can then print that off and put that on my wall outside. So it's still an effective way to even display work if you want to. Pages is just super handy for that. Now, what I'm going to do to share this with students, I'm going to say done. And when I click done, it's pulled up the first page. And what students would do is click up here on add page. And we've got all of our pages that we made in the template. And I've got them numbered so that they know what order to do them in. So they first watch the video. Whenever they're done with that, they open up the simple example. They can drag all this stuff around. They can drag these arrows and resize those arrows if they need to. They can click in here and move these arrows around. Okay, there we go. I made it totally backwards. That's okay. Now we can add look at our food chain worksheet. If that's too big to see on one page, they can always zoom in and out. Now they can move these things around. And see, they're not moving this food chain worksheet because it's been locked in place. So now, totally interactive stuff here. Very easy. It's very easy to make. And, it saves a whole lot of time in the long run. I think this is a great way to use Pages in the classroom. And you know what? You could combine this with Freeform. You put a copy of this template inside your Freeform. That way a kid just double taps on it and boom, they've got their copy of the workbook ready to go.